Okay, so I'm back. Um, well, so last time when I played, I was basically just seeing what changes were made to the route that I took. I wanted to see if anything changed, and clearly some things have changed, being that this is the newer edition of the game. So we're gonna actually go through the game the right way this time. Also, why does it feel like I'm flying and not like walking?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
It feels like I'm flying. Like it doesn't feel like I'm walking. Like it feels like I'm just floating. I can't even see my legs. It's like I'm an invisible person. Like it's like there's no like animation here. Like I can't even see myself. It's so weird.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Okay, I will play your game.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
How does? Yeah, that seems about accurate. Bi-quarterly post review. So, supposedly in this section, there was something that was cut where basically it was a joke from Rick and Morty, or they had a slide that was like from Rick and Morty from the pickle episode or whatever. I forget what it is, but if you know what I'm talking about, then you know. Ooh, the broom closet.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
I'm gonna sit here and like just be a smart ass.
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow. Just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here.
I know what happens. I just think it's funny.
It was baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA.
Fuck all. It's basically FA just means sweet fuck all. Okay, I'm gonna turn this up a little bit because I feel like maybe.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. This is the story of a man named. This is the story of a man named Stanley.
I feel like the
This
game
is
is
the story of a man named Stanley.
a little too quiet. I feel like I'm being too loud because I was too loud in the last video.
Are you really still in the broom closet? Standing around doing nothing?
Yep.
Why? Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused.
Because I want to be a dickhead.
You do realize there's no choice or anything in here, right?
Yes.
If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever. I never would have thought to mention it.
Yes, I know. I just wanted to be a smart ass.
Maybe to you this is somehow its own branch of path. Maybe when you go talk about this with your friends, you'll say, "Oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favorite." I hope your friends find this concerning.
They do. They do. Very concerning.
Stanley was fat and ugly and relentless. He probably got the job because of a family connection. That's how stupid he is. That all with money. Also, Stanley's addicted to drugs and hookers.
I love that. That's so funny.
Well, I've come to a very definite conclusion about what's going on right now. You're dead. You got to this broom closet, explored it a bit, and were just about to leave because there's nothing here, when a physical malady of some sort shut down your central nervous system and you collapsed in front of your screen. Well, in a situation like this, the responsible thing is to alert someone nearby so as to ensure that your body is taken care of before it begins to decompose. Hello? Anyone who happens to be nearby? The person at this computer is dead. They have fallen prey to any number of your countless human physiological vulnerabilities. It's indicative of the long-term sustainability of your species. Please remove their corpse from the area and instruct another human to take their place, making sure they understand basic first-person video game mechanics and filling them in on the history of narrative tropes in video gaming, so that the irony and insightful commentary of this game is not lost on them. All right, when you've done that, just step out into the hallway.
I'm just gonna continue to sit here and see if there's any extra dialogue. No? Nothing else to say? No? Okay.
Ah, second player. It's good to have you on board. I guarantee you can't do any worse than the person who came before you. You, too? Unbelievable. At the mercy of an entire species of invalids. Nearby you can hand the controls to. A fish? Fungus? Look, you can hammer out the details. I'm not particularly picky. I'll just be waiting for when you're ready to pick up the story again.
I want to see if he says anything else. If I go through here, can I come back?
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs
nope.
to his boss's office.
What if I go downstairs? So that doesn't open. Ooh, what's down here? What is that? I can't read it. It's too small. It won't let me pick it up.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive
Content warning. This session contains themes of mental illness. Hold X to skip and complete the sending.
His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down?
Yeah, why can't I?
Doors close automatically behind him wherever he went.
Yeah.
And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating?
Yep.
No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd, and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay. Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Okay. So that still happens. That hasn't changed. So, is it going to load me back to the beginning of the game? Yeah. Okay. So, just for a moment, I want to explain something. So, when he was explaining the process of basically having a narrator basically like explaining stuff to him, and he was acknowledging that the narrator was explaining, describing himself and his thoughts, and feeling like this was a dream and that none of this was real. So the reason it comes up as a mental illness is because there's a mental illness. I can't remember which one it is. It's either depersonalization or derealization disorder, which makes you feel like you are a outsider looking in type of deal, and that it makes you feel like what you are experiencing isn't real, like you're in a dream. And it can also be kind of, I guess they consider it, for people who are neurodivergent, they I forget the term they use. It's for people who are neurodivergent, so ADHD, ADD, autistic, um, any other uh, term that's under that spectrum. Um, it's called I just lost it. It's dissociation. Dissociation is when you detach yourself from reality and you're like, wow, is this a dream? This doesn't feel like reality. This can't be real. I'm in a dream. And it can really fuck you up, and it can also cause time blindness in a way, because you'll go throughout the day and be like, oh, this isn't real. I'm in a dream. It'll go by so fast, and you're like, wow, yeah, this is totally a dream. Because if this was real, this would have lasted so much longer. And I've dealt with those, and dealing with those disorders is absolutely terrifying. It is so fucking scary to deal with those disorders. And it may not sound scary, it may sound fun. It's not. It is absolutely fucking terrifying. Because you're like, oh, I can spend all my money, I can do all these really dangerous things. It's just a dream. I'll wake up eventually. But then you continue on, and at some point you'll come to back to reality, and you'll be like, oh fuck, this is reality. I wasn't in a dream. This was real. This actually happened. I spent all my money. I did all these really, really dangerous things. And now I have to face those consequences of those actions because I was so detached from reality. That really fucked me up these past few years. I've had moments. I mean, hell, there was a moment, I think, this past week where I was at work and I was like, this doesn't seem real. I was like, this feels like a dream. I was like, I must not be in reality. This can't be reality. Everything was really foggy, and I felt like I was in a dream. And I was like, this can't be real. I was dissociating, and it was kind of scary because I was like, when I came back to reality, I was like, oh, I'm actually at work. This is real. I was like, holy fuck, I'm actually at work. This is legitimately real. It's so hard losing touch of reality. So if there's anybody that is dealing with that, my heart goes out to you. And my condolences that you have to endure that. I'm full of empathy. I totally understand what you were dealing with, and you are not alone. If you were going through that, that is really difficult. I know it's hard, but I need you to know that you are not alone in dealing with that. That is a really difficult thing to deal with. So, yeah. Anyways, with that being said, let's continue on. Okay, I'm actually going to play it the right way this time.
Were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
New content, eh?
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013
Yep.
on home computers.
Mm-hmm. I have the original.
After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
So, what's cool is I actually have the base original Stanley Parable on Steam on my computer, and I have played it on this channel before.
Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure. Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... Oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it. I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if them... Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley.
Oh, okay. The jump circle.
All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
Okay, so we're just jumping. What does this do? I'm wondering what does this do? Oh, it just lets you jump like 30 times. Is that it? You just add...
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right?
You just jump 30-something times.
Another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could counter 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh, wait. There's more. Very good. Yes. I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is.
Okay. Thank you for enjoying the new content.
That's it? You've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's trophies, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test trophy, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game, and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
That was kind of funny. I was hoping for something new myself, but that was really funny. Mainly because, so he was saying that there's a lot of companies that will rush their games and not actually put any new content into their games because they're fucking greedy. And that mainly goes for Activision, EA, I want to say Ubisoft at this point, Rockstar. Like, there's a lot of big companies that rush a lot of shit, and they don't put any actual new content into their game. They just add like loot boxes and shit like that just for a quick buck. And it's because they're fucking greedy and they don't actually give a fuck about the game. And it's really sad to see. So that's kind of what he was mentioning, which I'm glad he said something on that. Hey, it's the picture of the beginning of the game.
Psst. Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
Okay. Oh, is there a wrench? Coffee nut and a screwdriver. Where the fuck are we going? The end is never the end.
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me
Yes.
thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look.
Okay. What's this?
I call it the Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC.
That's so cool because I have the original on
You see,
Steam.
Stanley, doesn't the Memory Zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap PlayStation port? Remember back in October of 2013 when the game originally launched?
Game Festival.
Back then, video games had integrity.
Parable.
Back then, it all meant something. Oh,
2013. 2013. Our first kiss, our first car. The release of the Stanley Parable in 2013. Don't forget the Stanley Parable. That's so neat. Time Magazine, Indoor Monthly, Shapes, Graphs, National Geographic. Huh. It's all the photos of different parts of the game. The original remake. Oh, this was on Mozilla Firefox. Someone took a screenshot of where it says download the demo by on pressurized gas. What the fuck? Identify 15,000-year-old unconserved words. The Washington Post. 6 components of a great corporate culture. John Coleman, Harvard Business Review. Huh. What does that say? Be my Valentine. Okay. Huh. There's $1. Smile because it happened. Trip down memory lane. The Stanley Parable. Oh, that must be the physical copy. What it looked like. The Stanley Parable demonstration. Oh, that's neat. Unachievable. It is impossible to get this achievement. Go outside. Don't play for 5 years. That's an actual achievement. That's funny because I guarantee I could not play the game for 5 years and get that achievement.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism. 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
Fantastic Arcade 2013, IGF Grand Prize, MODB. Okay, that doesn't open. Person of the Year, Stanley. Huh. The end is never the end. Doesn't open.
Here's
Interesting.
another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games, and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. All they had to do was transport it in pristine condition along to the PlayStation, boom, done. And they couldn't even do that. Couldn't resist the urge to go meddling with a beloved franchise.
Interesting. The Serious Room. Oh, that's okay. So the Serious Room is the PC version where if you boot in the game and you put in console commands, it sends you to the Serious Room, and you basically got stuck there, and the only way to get out was to exit out and restart the game or something like that, or you had to like reset your computer, or you had to like restart your computer or some shit like that. I was like, ooh.
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here? Oh no, oh God, no, Stanley. It's a collection of reviews from Pressurized Gas, the extremely popular online storefront for computer games. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
Not recommended. This was on Steam.
I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
Okay. It's got a positive review on it. I can't read what it says, but...
Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. Well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did, but maybe it wasn't.
I don't know what terse means, so...
What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered. What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then Then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
What?
And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No, 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 no. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people. And if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, and it goes something like this. The story, and the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 245. But the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say, the story, and the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 245. But the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back. Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary... Well, there's sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your... Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really... Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks. I've been sitting here all that time. Just sitting here. Not a single person to speak with. And you'd think that that's just how it's always been, right? Me talking...
Hold on, what's back here?
Nothing. Would you think that it's exactly the same as always? Doesn't that feel like
Oh,
what we've
nothing.
already been doing? Me just talking? But it isn't, Stanley. It isn't the same at all. It isn't even close. Because I know you can't hear me once you push that button. That's what I'm realizing now, Stanley. I'm realizing that I needed to know that someone was listening. I needed there to be a vessel through which my... Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we...
Skip. Ow, my ears. Why is that thing beeping? Ow, my ears. Stop, my
But
ears.
they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It
Oh
was
my
meant to have
God,
a
he's still
point.
going on
It
his
was meant to speak to
rant.
the human condition. But
Hey,
where are the
that
jokes? Where are the
plant
jokes?
is
They
dead.
bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth.
Well, I guess I just keep pressing the skip button.
Is never the end, 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 is never the end.
Hey, it's raining. So is this just gonna go on forever? Oh my god. Everything is starting to break down. So I'm pretty much skipping through time. Hey, it's light out now. Whoa. That's kind of cool. And it's back to this. Okay, now that's terrifying. That's terrifying. Oh god. What has happened? Can I press the button now? No? Is the button done for? I guess so. Oh my god. It's just an endless void of nothingness. Oh my god. There's nothing out here. Oh. That's so crazy. Is this what it's like to walk in a desert? Interesting. Okay, so it loads back to the beginning of the game. Okay. So, I just wanted to see what all new content was in the game. So if you did enjoy, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to stay notified from when I upload, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.